Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about Shokugeki no Soma, the final epilogue chapter. My heart, man, my heart. Anyway, very quick things. Because this is like the third video on the channel today, I just want to let everyone know I have not watched Sheep Magician yet. I am going to watch it. I'm still working on the Fire Force video. It's a general topic video, not a comparison video. I've edited 3 minutes out of, I think it's 15 minutes right now. Maybe I'll get it down, but I'm going at a pace of, well, I'm going at a pretty bad pace. I've already taken a few hours to get to 3 minutes edited, but whatever. That's going to be hopefully on the channel by tomorrow from the pace I'm going at right now. And any other announcements? No. Oh, no more announcements. We can jump into Shokugeki no Soma. And also, Midmat, thank ya, man. This time, I was keeping an eye on it. I've been watching it all day. And yeah, I saw your comment on Discord. So, Midmat, I'm assuming you're going to watch this. So, thanks for sticking by me this whole time. I really appreciate it. Anyway, let's just jump into Shokugeki no Soma, the final walkthrough we're going to do for the Shokugeki no Soma finale. And I'm not going to post all the pages on the screen. I'm just going to go through it relatively quickly, talk about what I liked and didn't like, you know, just the standard stuff. One thing I do want to say, though, in terms of, just, you know, a general overview, I really liked the chapter. You know, it started off strong. Like, at the beginning of the first half of the chapter, I'm like, buddy. Oh my god. I even put I tweeted out like, man, this is great. It feels like a conclusive epilogue. I'm happy. And then you went into the second half of the chapter and it was just kind of slowed down a little bit. I was starting to get a lot more bothered. There were little things I thought, we don't really need this. I don't like how this is going. The pacing for the first half was so good, and then the pacing for the second half just slowed down once you got past all the epilogues. And I wasn't a fan of that. Because, you know, I'm a shipper at heart, man. I would have loved to have gotten like solid confirmation, but we didn't. But you know what? We also got as close as we possibly could to the solid confirmation. So it's like, okay, you know, fine. I don't understand why you had to like play this game and just beat around the bush for this one. But whatever. Don't care. Last thing I want to say is that you guys might already know, because I think I might have voiced it for the Shokugeki no Soma videos, but I really love the epilogue chapters. The epilogue chapters were just, I think the weakest of the epilogue chapters was the second one, but man, overall, I love the epilogue chapters, because for me, it doesn't really matter how terrible the arc before this was on a technical level, because really, the epilogue, right? You're going to end up at the epilogue anyway. It doesn't matter how terrible the arcs are, if you know where you're going. The reality is, I'm already invested in the Shokugeki no Soma characters, such that the epilogue was going to fix whatever problems I had. Because this is now I'm just leaving on a nice note. I don't need to know what happens in between their life in Totsuki to the life now, right? Like, I don't need to know that. I just need to know that they're happy. And that's something that I really liked in this chapter. And I'm sure I've talked about it before, but I'm the type of viewer that, honestly, I only need to see the characters struggle in their story for a little bit. And then if the story wants to give me slice of life chapters showing their life after struggle, I'm fine with that, man. I'm all for seeing how characters who went through weird things in shonen adapt to the regular world. And that's what we got in this chapter. So let's begin with, after that long, oh no, that was like 4 minutes. That is not the longest pre-chapter ramble I've ever had. Any hoosers. Let's get into it. So the first page, I thought, was nice. I love the coloring style. I thought it was good. You could already see that Soma looked like an older guy, so I was into it. And I love how these guys were setting it up that Soma was a big name, and then you had like that nice color page on the other page where it's like Chef Soma, and it's like, all right, the kid looks like he grew up well. He even looked a little bit more toned. All right, whatever, I'm into it. That's cool, man. Anyway, after that, we go into the chapter proper. And we have, well, Erina, clearly. Now, you gotta look at it from my perspective. I'm looking for anything that tells me that Soma and Erina are ending up together or already together, right? I'm looking for it, like a hungry dog. And the first thing that I saw on that page is like Erina saying like, would it kill you to give me a head up when you're coming home? You see, saying home That just made me feel like, all right, he's coming home, huh? That's a very like emotional word. All right, I'm feeling it. I think Irina's she's kind of a little bit sentimentally attached. So that was what I was thinking, and we find out later in the chapter that the girl is very much sentimentally attached to Soma. But it's just they're not solid about it. Anyway, after that, we begin the epilogue rundown of what people were doing. And in this regard, I actually really liked it how they made it work, because they had it by the characters going, or sorry, by... Oh, Jesus. Hisako? Oh, whatever. You know the girl, like the girl's secretary. You had it by the secretary sending out the emails. I thought that was a really nice way to segue into seeing everyone. Like, that was pretty smooth. I really like that little segue tool. I think that was a really cool little writing trick there. So then we went through all the epilogues, and overall, I'm pretty happy. I think all the characters got happy endings here. Ishiki, for instance, he's free from his family. That's cool. I'm into that. Kuga, successful enough. Megumi, successful. Nene, also successful. And then on their page, the ones that I was actually the ones that I found a little bit unfair was Aizen, Yoshino, and Mito, or Ikumi. The reason I found that one a little bit unfair is because they kind of swept up the Polar Star Dorm. They kind of swept those guys under the rug. Like, you see them later in the chapter, but I didn't like that. I feel like you could have squeezed them in there. I know they're not important, but it's not really fair. Like, these are characters that we started it off with, and I would have liked to have a little bit more nuance into what they were doing. I mean, I know they weren't the best chefs in the world. Well, actually, no. They're in Totsuki, so they're probably in like the high percentage of chefs. It was just a little bit unfortunate that they all just got swept together in that grouping. That's one thing I found unfair. Anyway, we moved on from there. We had Akira. He was a professor. That's all cool. You had Takumi and Isami. For them, the thing that I found very interesting is that they were saying that the two were equally skilled as chefs. That's very interesting that they had to put that in there. And when you look back at it, the author was doing something interesting with Isami. He was doing something interesting with the way he set up Isami and Takumi during Takumi's match during the blue. I do feel like this is something that maybe the author would have worked on more had he the time. But unfortunately, as we saw, like, time just wasn't a thing as we were ending Shokugeki no Soma. In terms of like who got the stronger epilogues, for sure, you could say Takumi and Izami got a little bit more attention in their epilogue. Aside from Soma and Irina, because the chapter was pretty much revolving around those two. But those two got a little bit of a bookend with their epilogue, because you had the shot of their father saying that he didn't worry about Takumi anymore, and that one was specifically a bookend to Takumi's character arc. So that was really interesting. It's interesting to see which characters got a little bit more and which ones didn't. Anywho, after that we had another sort of bookend, this time with the former, or the Elite 10 that were there when Soma was a first year. That was nice. That was nostalgic. It felt good that they were now the guys who were looking for people for their restaurants, doing the Hell Week and all that. I found that really adorable. I like that bookend, but their bookend it wasn't as solid as Takumi and Isami's. Not to say anything bad about it. I mean, like, we had more with those two than we had with the Elite 10. It was just cool to see that all of them are all successful, as we saw. Like, they all have WGO stars. So good for them. Anyway, after that, we find out about Joichiro. Joichiro's life. I'm happy that he feels okay enough to go out into the world. And then you had Alice's life after that. Also, she's doing successful. She's successful. Like, we expected that. She was born into luxury. She continues to live in luxury. Then you get to Rio. And let me tell you, everything about the way this guy was presented, I did not expect. This guy is so... I was going to say he's kind of whipped. He seems kind of whipped. But you go into his epilogue blurb, and it's talking about The guy dabbles in marine biology, researching the effects of climate change on the world's ocean and looking for more sustainable fishing practices. Wow. I did not expect that for his life. And he dabbles in these things, and yet he is still an aide to Alice. He's a butler, and he dabbles in this thing. I mean, I swear, anime, right? Whew. But that was a big surprise. That one really was a big surprise, that he is so under control. I mean, I guess that's how he was initially introduced, but at the same time, it's just like, wow. That was different. And then you go into Asahi, and at this point, I'm going to say, with Asahi, you know, last chapter was the chapter that was all about reconciling that last loose plot thread that was Asahi's existence. And I'm not going to lie, I think, you know, in some ways, it's funny. I think it was interesting how the author chose to tie him back in to the Nakiris. I found it how he tied it back in to this guy. What was his name again? Asami. There we go. Asahi Asami. Asahi Asami. How did I not make that connection before? Anyway, point is, I found it interesting what the author had done in the previous chapter for it. But I think I remember one of the comments I had for that chapter was, it's kind of interesting that depression is so hereditary that Mana can detect it in cooking. That's really what I took away from that. That Asahi has this hole in his heart, and this thing is so legit that he inherited it from his father, such that it shows up in his cooking. You have any idea what, like, how depressed someone has to be, or how much of a hole in someone's heart they have to for it to show up in their cooking? I thought that was an interesting idea, because when I read that, it was pretty much, okay, depression is hereditary. That's or the proneness to depression is hereditary. That's what I took away from that whole little bit when Mana was talking about how she found out that these two could have been related. So I think that was I think it was an interesting move. I don't see any problems with it, because thematically you kind of saw that he had to bring the characters together. Like, he had to make Asahi worth something. And bringing him together as family, I think, was interesting. Although there is something that can be said about the enemies in Soma ultimately being Asami and then Asahi, and they happen to be related. Two different guys terrorizing the same poor girl, right? Like, it's kind of interesting who the villains were here. I think that is kind of a weakness. I think it would have been okay to keep, and I don't mean a weakness for Soma, I mean in general, when stories get caught up in just trying to keep everything so meaningful in terms of familial relationships. You know, I think you can let a villain die. You know, you can let a villain go. You can build up another villain. I think, for better or for worse, Dragon Ball was pretty good about this. But you look at things. You look at other shows, right? Like Naruto, for example. You go into Madara, who is a villain, and then Madara ends up having this connection because of a reincarnation process to another character, and that character's mother is the one who's actually the real final villain. Like, there's a there's a genetic or spiritual connection between all the villains, or the final villains. And so I don't like when Shonen does this so often, because it just, other people can be worthwhile too. I mean, in this case, you wanted to give meaning to the character, but it was interesting. It was interesting. Anyway, speaking of meaning to the characters and familiar relationships, the next couple pages are the Nakiri family luncheon, and they're just showing that, yeah, Asahi was a criminal, but he got off, and now he's a teacher, and he has a happy life. Yeah, okay, sure, man. All right, whatever. Look, the author wanted to give the guy a redemption story, but it's like he didn't have time to do the redemption properly. I'm not going to fault him for not having time. He had too much to do, but at the same time, it's just like, Asahi. Anyway, it's good to know that he's not messing with Irina anymore, right? That's cool. Any hoosers. After that, you start to divulge into the slow part of the chapter with Irina going to the Yukihira restaurant. Now, that was okay. Because I thought, okay, we're gonna see Soma immediately. Little do I know, the first thing I see when I flip the page on Viz Media is the grandfather. And to be honest, I was questioning, where is the grandfather? I assumed that the grandfather had died, because, well, his daughter died, right? I think that was a fair assumption. But now you find out he's been all right. So actually, that was a really nice surprise. Definitely one of the big surprises in the chapter, along with Rio. That was a nice surprise. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool. Now, again, as a shipper, I'm looking at that thing, and I see that the woman calls him grandfather, and I'm thinking, you're calling him grandfather? You married? And of course she is. Well, it doesn't seem like she is, but it was. I was looking for anything that I could possibly take. And then you had the grandfather going into the next page, talking about how Irina was so accommodating, and that she could stick up for herself and all kinds of stuff like that. And I was just thinking, this doesn't sound like the kind of talk someone would have with, like, what, their granddaughter-in-law. So they're probably not together. And then I got really sad. My heart kind of broke there because it probably meant it wasn't confirmed. Any hoosers. Yeah, you go there, and then you go into that little bit where Irina starts talking about how she felt with the way that Soma left. And this was actually pretty good, because at this point, we're not going to get any conclusive statement. We're going to get a lot of little clues that kind of point us in the direction that we're thinking. And so I actually kind of like that. I like that Irina admitted that she thought that he was going to be there with her the whole time. And she does sound like she was kind of hurt with him just leaving without her knowing anything about it. So I really like that. I really like that there were hurt feelings, because that implies that there were feelings to be hurt in the first place. And then you segue into Soma for that portion, where Soma was thinking back about, finding someone that's worth cooking for. So at that point, we then go into the flashback that tells us where exactly the competition started. And for a second there, I wasn't expecting to actually get the information on Soma's mother's passing. I thought that was going to be a black box. I thought we were never going to find out about that. So at that point, when I saw that page, it's like, oh man, I wish we were done with the flashbacks. The last chapter was supposed to be about the past, about the flashbacks. This is the future chapter. Why are we still talking about the past? And then, you go into the immediate next page, and it's the mom on the ground. It feels bad, man. Knowing that she had a birth defect and it was one of her heart valves, that's unfortunate. That was, I think, a really unique way of going about it. I've had two friends that have had like birth defects with their heart valves, and that one kind of hit me. Like it could have been cancer or something like that, but cancer as a tool in stories, in some ways I was expecting that one more, but then to find out it was this little thing, a minor defect that would have that you could have probably have grown out of when you were younger, but she didn't. That was kind of unfortunate. And then the part I think that really got me was that her condition lasted all of 1 month. That part definitely got me. This was just a collect. I think this works so well on me because I just wasn't expecting this. So, when I hear that part about all of 1 month, all I'm thinking in my head is like, well, what time did Soma have to process this? That kind of sucks. So, I think in this case, the brevity with which it unfolded in the pages themselves was good, because it kind of reflected the brevity in which Soma had time with his mother. Like he had no time with his mom. 1 month, all of a sudden. That's scary. So that was really well done. And this is I love this part of the chapter. I thought this was really good. Anyway, after that, the flashback just culminates in just showing us, okay, this is what cemented the competitions between Soma and his dad. And those things all together, I think, were really worthwhile. I really enjoyed that. It was a sad note, but I do appreciate the nuances that the author put in there. Ooh, getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it. That one was really tough. Any hoosers. The next page is just Soma reiterating that you can cook better if you're cooking for someone that you like or someone that's special. And then Soma is kind of leading into the thought that Irina is the someone special, right? Anyway, after that, you get the official epilogue summaries of what was going on with Soma and Irina's lives. And that was pretty nice. It's nice to know what exactly is going on in their lives. That Soma is this legend and Irina is this titan of industry. But here with the dialogue is where I started like losing faith as I was reading, because Irina went into her usual Irina shtick when she's talking to Soma about how she has a busy schedule, and it's like, oh no, they're not talking to each other like well enough, right? They're still talking to each other like friends, and I'm just getting sad. My heart's breaking. And the redeeming quality, the redeeming thing here is obviously the monologues, the internal monologues that Irina is looking forward to seeing Soma. And it's like, okay, at least there's that. At least that's worthwhile. But as we're going into just the talks of them having these kind of shallow dialogues of just, what food do you want? And I'm going to make the food right now, right? Like, when you look at that page of them just ordering, him asking what she wants and her ordering, right? What is that? It's just, that's kind of just trying to play off of the nostalgia of their relationship. But again, it's like, it's something that we've seen multiple times. At this point, I'd kind of wish that the dialogue between the two could have evolved a little bit further. Anyway, from there, you get to have everyone showing up. And at that point, we see some of the people from the Polar Star dorm return. That was nice. I do appreciate that, but, I would have loved it if they got individualized epilogues. Whatever. I imagine it's page constraints or something like that. I'm sure the author did his best with the amount of pages that he was allotted. Any hoosers. You go into that portion, and by that point, it's like, I've lost all hope. There's not going to be enough time to cover the things I want covered. Oh my god, 22 minutes. Okay, we're almost done. It was a 40-page chapter. Anyway, it was nice seeing the group together again. But, what of value is in there, in their dialogue, right? I mean, there is the fan service of just, oh, it's nice to see them together, but the dialogue itself was just more of the same. And this is like, I'm trying to quantify exactly why I was disappointed. It's just like, when you're looking for some progression, being told or seeing people asking if they can come in, or people commenting about this is, it's been a while since they've seen Soma, or even Takumi wanting to get a competition in. Like, this is all just playing off of the friendship that they have developed over the years. But for me, it wasn't, I wanted to see the new relationship dynamics. But I know that there's also like that appeal of just seeing like, oh yeah, no, they're all still friends. Don't worry about it. They're all carrying on just the way they did. Any hoosers. After that, of course, you have to do more bookends, and you get the wonderful squid scene. That is still so gross. And you have the nice panel of everyone saying that's disgusting. That might actually be the panel I choose for the thumbnail. And then we go into the final pages after Irina giggles about it, which was honestly really, really cute. But the chapter, what is going on? The chapter ends at a pretty much, well, it ends with Soma giving her the dish. And so what you ultimately get is that you have a chapter that clearly states, or not clearly, but that implies that Soma and Irina are significant or seriously view each other as someone important in their lives. And they Soma alludes to the idea that Irina is the special someone that he wants to make dinner for. And I'm saying allude because I'm being careful with my words, but it's pretty much confirmed, I think. It's just, I would have liked to have seen more. And I want to just say it. If you like the chapter, like it. It's a great chapter. I think for an epilogue chapter, it's great. I was invested in just a little bit more. I was invested in a little bit more, but it's a feel-good chapter. The chapter's intent is to make you feel good and to let you know that these people or these characters had a good life and that they're all friends still. It is heartwarming when everyone's finding out that Soma's back in town. It is heartwarming when everyone is coming in to have his food. It is heartwarming when Irina giggles at how disgusting Soma's food is, right? It is super heartwarming. But I'm playing that game of like, author, you could have squeezed out some of this and given me one more line, man. I just needed one more line. Honestly, I could say in some ways the last page is the page that bothers me the most. But yeah. It was cool. It was cool. I'm happy to know that the characters are happy and that they all succeeded in their respective ventures. And I guess the thing I'm the most unhappy about is just that the Erina-Soma relationship itself hasn't made that much, hasn't really changed all that much, which is unfortunate. And I guess like the other thing that I've also found a little bit funny is that Megumi didn't really have that much closure, if you get what I mean. Like in terms of panel resources, Megumi did not have as much of a presence as Takumi. And it's just really interesting because Megumi was one of the final four. She's one of the final four that went to the blue in that first initial grouping of Erina, Soma, Takumi, and Megumi. So it's interesting to see that. And the reason I'm putting this out is just because Megumi was one of the characters that got the short end of the stick during the blue. So it was just kind of unfortunate to see that she kept getting the short end of the stick as we went through this. I mean, think about it. Megumi only got, I think, maybe 3 lines of dialogue. And one of them, or like 2 of them, is just where she's commenting on that Soma has been inspired to create another recipe and that it's neat. Think about that. That's how much dialogue Megumi got. Which is just odd. That was odd. And it's unfortunate because like Megumi, I think, had enough character that you could do a proper bookend. Again, the big comparison here is Takumi and Megumi, right? Because Takumi is roughly at her level of importance. And Takumi got so much of a bookend, whereas Megumi really didn't. And that was odd. That was odd to see. Any hoosers, it's fun when you compare from where we started and where we ended up. But like I said, I am happy that these characters ultimately had a happy life. Guys, let me know what you thought down below, man. Let me know. This was a really long video, but hey, when you're having fun talking about Soma, I'm very happy with the epilogue. It's feel good. And as a fan of the series, yeah, even with the mess that was the blue, I'm really happy that Soma at least got epilogue chapters. I like this a lot more, man. I like it a lot more that Shonen Jump, when they're canceling things, are giving proper epilogue chapters. Because, man, if Bleach had... Actually, no, you know what? I won't put Bleach in there because the Bleach novels are actually pretty amazing in my eyes. So I won't put them in there. But you know what? If Shokugeki no Soma gets novels, you know for sure I'm reading it. Like, absolutely, 100%. Any hoosers, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. And till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day. The anime! Maybe the anime will give a better epilogue. Oh, maybe. Fingers crossed. And when I say better epilogue, I really just mean that extra little confirmation of Soma and Erina. I just need it. It's like a drug, man. It's like a drug.